Hello, hello. Let me make sure everything is good to go. Let me know if you can hear me. How's the hair? So hello, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh in case you've not been here before, hi. Hello. I'm Erin. I am Nielsen Letters Calligraphy. And we are going to be learning, obviously. We're going to be doing some calligraphy, doing some copperplate. Just looking over my notes. What we are doing today, I should know, but sometimes memory, I forget sometimes. But we are doing warm up recap of the past five. I can't believe we're running number six. Um, Last five lessons. We're doing double letters, a few tips and tricks on that one. We're doing numbers. We're going to do some punctuation, and then we'll be done for the day. Um, Unless I have any like requests at the end to do something very specific. But yeah, let us get started. Let me swap my camera. There we go. That was pretty seamless transition. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can't hear me, the mic should be on and working. I see my bar on the bottom of my screen, so it's good. Uh I'm gonna do I want to do warm-ups. I've been practicing all day. Um so I don't know if I need to do warm-ups for very long, to be totally honest. Because I've literally I have stacks of paper today, from what I was doing. Just doing some when it's slow season, it's always good to keep up the training, as it were. Um, so I might skip the warm ups today, to be totally honest, unless someone really wants me to do them, which you can pipe up in the chat and let me know. I think because because we're gonna be doing a recap at the very beginning, I'm gonna do the alphabet all in one shot. Uh, with the pointed pen off the bat, just to give a bit of a reminder about what we've already done. I think I'll jump right into that. I think that's good. Today we're going to be using a different ink. It's bright pink. So the recap shouldn't take too long, but I'll do that first before we go into the double letters. I wanted to use a nice bright color to be able to see. Sorry, I just have papers just off screen, so I make sure that they don't fall into frame by accident. You know how it is. All right, perfect. So, like I said, little recap. It's going to be, we're going to obviously recap it with 8 basic strokes, of course. So we have our, is this zoomed in enough? Let's see. Let's make sure my little baby inkwell is not going to get knocked over. Yeah, I think we're good now. So we got our entry stroke. We have our downstroke. We have our overturn, our underturn, our compound curve, our oval, our descender loop. Ignore that one. That one started getting away from me. I also want to do a little pink. You know, it was Valentine's Day yesterday, so wanted to have some fun with my colors. So descender loop and the ascender loop. By the way, today I'm using a Hunt 101 instead of my normal fave, which is the EF principle. I actually ran out today with all my practicing and whatnot that I was doing. So I had to break out the Hot 101s, which I have a lot of. So doing with these with this guy, which is fun. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you're gonna see me write the alphabet. I'm gonna do it in order, not in letter group. Just a little easier that way. Um, Technically you shouldn't be practicing them outside of the letter group, but we're just gonna, just so you can see me write the alphabet, just so you can see the strokes in action. I'll do that as well. Again, if there's any questions or anything like that, let me know. And let me know as well if this is close enough as well. I am a little farther away from myself than I would like to be. Let me move my mic and see if I can get a little closer. Because I can tell like I'm pulling weird because the angle that I'm looking at it is a bit weird from my end. I think, let me do that one again to make sure I'm right on that 55-degree line. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's better. Better. Cool. So I hope you guys are having a good week. We are what? We're Thursday now? We are Thursday. I know for me it's been a bit of a slow week. It's been a good week though. I had some inquiries this week, which was good. Um Not unlike usual. I didn't have any events for Valentine's Day. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever actually been booked for Valentine's Day. I know in a lot of other markets Valentine's Day is really big, but for whatever reason Montreal doesn't necessarily have, or at least for calligraphy with brands. I don't know if anyone else got booked. I was looking on Instagram over the weekend to see if anyone was doing anything, but I didn't see anyone doing any calligraphy in store. So I'm curious what what was going on in your guys' markets. With me, it was pretty quiet. Just, was able to have a weekend pretty calm. It's too bad my mic isn't more sensitive when it comes to the writing, or maybe I should get one just for um, hearing the scratches on the page. A little bit of ASMR. Yeah, because I don't think you guys hear that, the light scratching. I think I have a bit of I have like a bit of a noise filter on my mic, so you don't hear any like weird, because my computer's obviously running, and you don't, so you don't hear the fans, just because that's a bit like annoying. I have so many lights on in my office right now to try and like make it as bright and clear as possible. I'm always wondering too, like if the shadows from that is okay. I think that's fine because it's nighttime right now. Well, nighttime. I mean, it's 7 o'clock, uh, but it's winter, so there's obviously no sun happening right now. While while it's February, in the summer it's not so bad. The sun goes down at like 9, but in the winter it goes down so easily. Hello, I'm doing very well. How are you? Is this your first time here? I am in Montreal, in Quebec, Canada. Oh well, welcome to the stream. I I've been streaming twice a week for 3 weeks now. This is my fourth week, and I've been doing teaching calligraphy, specifically what I'm doing now, which is called Copperplate. Yeah, they've been doing all right. I'm doing because streaming live is fun, and normally after the stream I re-upload it to YouTube so then people can rewatch and then learn. Trying to make it really accessible. Of course, you can ask me a question. How can I help you? Who makes my panels? Oh, like for my. Sorry, where's my hand? Like this guy right here? Yeah, I made it myself. Yeah, definitely. I um I have Affinity, the Affinity software. I don't want to pay for an Adobe subscription, so I basically got Affinity, which is like a. Oh, cool. Oh, so you probably know Affinity. I'm like explaining it like you don't know what Affinity is. But yeah, I just used Affinity Publisher without a background and I made the panels for myself. Um I used to stream more very frequently, more during COVID at the beginning. So I've experimented a lot with paneling. Oh, I'm okay, but thank you very much for asking. I have I won't be streaming much more other than my teaching and stuff. So that for what I have now, I'm good with. But thank you for asking. Oh no, I don't want to do that. It's okay. Like that's so much work for you. I'm good. I'm only gonna be probably streaming until like February 22nd. But I appreciate you asking. But no, I'm okay. Thank you. There we go. So here is the alphabet all in order so you can see what that looks like. Just as a little reminder from what I was doing over the past few weeks. So you can see that all here. I'll remove the guidelines underneath so you can see it better. So yeah, that like we're good, we're clean, more or less. Ignore that one. The angle is wrong. Uh so we're good to go with that. So that was my little recap, little reminder for those guys. And then we're gonna jump right into the double letters. So double letters can be kind of tricky, a little bit tricky. And the reason why is because there's a lot of pressure when you're doing double letters because it feels all of a sudden like you need to make it exactly the same um, as the one before it. Sorry. There we go. So I'm saying double letters. I'm saying like a there we go. We're good. So when I'm saying like a double letter, what I mean is like a double L or a double E. See, even me too here. It's not the same. These are actually pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself with that one. We got like, a double F. That could be better. So what we'll be just going over is how to I don't love using the word cheat, but um it's a useful trick to know, I guess, if you're using double letters and you're not sure if you can make them the same next to each other. I'm going to show you how to fudge it a little so it doesn't look so bad. So the way that I always think about when I'm writing is that I want it to look on purpose. If you're looking at this one and this one here, you can kind of tell it's not the same, but it's not different enough that you're like, oh, that was a purposeful difference. This was like, oh, maybe like you can kind of tell it's not, I don't want to say a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's still legible. It still looks like the letter E. But, this is where some of the alternative ways, some of the variations of letters come in very useful, very handy. So for example, for the letter L, this is the way that we would normally do the letter L, right? We're coming entry stroke, ascender loop down into the exit stroke. I would, and like normally, we're looking for the width of the ascender loop to be about the same as the width down here. So we're looking for this to be very, very comparable, very comparable. So my thought for this to make it look like if you're doing a double L is that, let's say you're doing the word hello. Okay. Every time I say the word hello, Adele's hello literally pops into my head all the time. Okay. I'm going to stop right there. There's a space above the E here. There's going to be some air. And I know I'm going to go to L, L, and then I'm going to go for an O. A way that I can make differences look purposeful, if you want to do that, is even though I should start here to do the loop, I might do this. Or actually, it would be a bit more round. I might do that. So this still looks like an L. I'm not making this too big. I'm making it over here because I know that there's going to be space. And then if this isn't exactly the same as itself, we're bringing attention to a different area. So you're not necessarily focusing on maybe these aren't exactly the same width of the difference here and here. So this does take a little bit more planning, maybe a little bit like slower. Maybe you want to do it in pencil first. But there's a lot of different ways you can kind of fudge it, right? Maybe you don't want to do it on this side. Maybe you want to do it here. And then maybe you want to pull this down like this without the loop quite yet. Do the O. And maybe you want to come up and do this. You know, you're actively making it more different than the one that came before it. Because if you're not, you know, maybe you want to make it a little more of a visual interest. Maybe you're not super confident that you can make them look the same. You can kind of fuddle your way around to make it work for you. This is also a fun way to kind of develop your own style too, for how you like to do. I guess this would be very like light flourishing, if you want to go and think about that. So we won't be going through flourishing because I'm not. I do it, but I'm not proficient enough in flourishing that I'm able to explain how to do it. So that's not something I will be touching on much, just more in the context of this. But my friend Raquel, let me pull up her Instagram. She has a delightful, wonderful. My keyboard is like not in the most accessible place right now. So give me just a second. Let me pull up Instagram. Let me pull up her. Let me pull her up. Her flourishing is delightful. And I am going to link her Intro to Technical Flourishing book. As I smack my mic. Let's make sure that that's working okay still. Perfect. Let me drop that in the chat right there. So, and her Instagram is this. Her flourishing is great. And her workbook is really comprehensive, for how to do flourishing like well. And she's very good at explaining it. That's not my strong suit. My strong suit is not that, so I won't. It's not my vibe. I'm not gonna try to explain too hard of it, how to do it, but she's very good at it. So I would say if someone's interested in looking at that, look up Raquel, or RD_calligraphy on Instagram. It would be that for sure. So let's do, so it's double L. Let's see, we got the double E. So the two E's in a row are a little more difficult because you don't have a lot of space. Let's say we do just like heel. You know, we're doing with the H's and stuff. We're doing a lot of ascender loops. So this is also why I like starting the E from up on the top. I find it easier for me to get into a rhythm of making it as similar as itself for the next one. So this is not bad. But when you have two E's together, it is hard to make them different than each other without it looking like maybe a C. So I guess for the two E's, my suggestion for these two would be really to try. It's hard. It's really hard to make them look like each other. I'm able to do it just because I've been doing it a long time, but I do remember struggling with the two E's in particular, and I'm trying to think on the fly how I would make it different enough from the next one. Maybe something like this. I'm trying to think, but I think for the double E, I think it's just a matter of just practicing until you can make them look the same. That's because you don't have a lot of space, you don't have a lot of room. Unless it's at the end of a word, then you can. But if it's in the middle, because if it's at the end, you can kind of just scoot out the butt of like the bottom and bring it into itself, and then it's like, oh, okay, this is on purpose. Um, if you're having trouble making them look the same, but I think for the E, I think this just is. I don't know if there's a way to cheat out of this one. I think you just have to practice. I practice it. If I think of it, because I'm thinking of these on the fly a little bit. Some of them can come more automatically, but I think the 2E you just have to practice. Whereas with the L, you can play a little bit more if you're a little unsure, if you want to make it look a little bit more unique or a little bit more your style. Uh, with the Fs, it's a little easier to do some variations, of course, between the two if you don't want to make them look the same. We have our one that I showed above here. But then, remember we have our other one. So what you can do is you can put them both with each other. Which creates some visual interest, a little bit more cool, more fun, a little more interesting, I guess. You can also, if the short one is first, so this guy, then you go with this one. You can also maybe bring this around, right? You can do that. That's kind of fun. If you want to go really, so this is a little bit more, I guess, again, light flourishing. So you can do, one like this, and then one like this, and you can, wrap it around itself perhaps. That could be fun. You can also do two, just like that. And you have this one on the left doing that too. It just depends, I think, too, what letters are on either side. Do you have space to do this? And let's also not forget that when you're crossing lines like this, the thin crossing the thick is totally fine, but we're never going to cross like two thick ones together because that just makes it look really messy and not fun. So like my recommendation would always be like if you're very practiced and proficient, you can totally do both of the same ones next to each other. But if you're worried that you won't be able to make it look like itself, use a different variation. Also, you can, even I was about to change that one, but I'll just make it a new one. Kind of like with the hello here with the ascender loop, I did like this. You can do this with the F as well. You exaggerate that a little bit more, and you can, so it's both kind of the same, but we have the big if memory serves, this is called a C curve because it looks like a C. But you have the C curve coming down, making this bigger and more flourished, and then you're up, and then you do the normal one. So that can work too. There's a lot of different ways you can play with this. You don't always have. I remember when I was learning. The reason why I wanted to go over this too, as like just a fun little tangent, is because I remember when I was learning, I was so rigid with only doing what was in whatever exemplar or book that I was looking at, and that's it. Like I didn't play around with stuff because I thought it was wrong. And I want to give you, I guess, permission to play, that you can fiddle with these things if that's what your intention is. You absolutely can. But my suggestion is always to be conscious, make sure that you're doing it on purpose, and make sure you're not losing the legibility of what you're writing. This still looks like two Fs, especially if you're doing it within the context of a word. I'm trying to think of one that's not like the word, like the name Jeff, because I didn't want to do any proper nouns because we haven't done magic skills yet. But let's just do it if it's if Jeff is just with a small. You know, you can do J E F F like that. You know, you can do it like this. So you have this maybe be a little bigger than this guy, but you have a fun flourish. Then you're going down here, you do the same thing. Like you can't, there's a lot of different ways that you can get around doing this where you can still have fun. I'm also, I don't think I showed this one, but if you're feeling fun, if you're feeling like you want to take a risk, you can also try doing this guy. It's kind of like a bow tie, like a little, like a shoelace tie or the left of a bow as well. So you can kind of fiddle with a bunch of different, just like variations. It helps. I'm going to do a word now that a lot of people I know, myself included, don't love doing because it's hard, and it's one of the ones that a lot of people want all the time, and it's the word happy. Because happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy, 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 happy. We just, there we go. So we got our H. A. And I know that I gave you guys 3 variations of the word of the letter P. So you can just mix and match those babies to your heart's content until you find something that you like. So you can absolutely mix those. And again, one of the reasons I wanted to focus on this a little bit today was because when I was starting to learn, sorry about that. I didn't know you could mix and match. I would get so frustrated with myself that I wouldn't be able to make the 2 P's next to each other, or whatever letters were next to each other, that I wasn't able to make them look the same. I'm better at it now, but this just comes with practice. So I wanted to verbally tell you and actively show you that you can mix and match them, and that's fine, and it's okay. And there's no calligraphy police who are gonna be upset that you did that. It's very common. A lot of people do. It just is part of learning that I don't want you to feel like you're stuck if you're not feeling like you can do that. But yeah, you can just kind of play around, you know, with whichever one is your favorite. You can go, you know, the way that I normally do it. I'll give you mine, which is going to be a bit more flourished. But if you feel like you want to give it a try, I'm not going to stop you. There we go. Got that A. You know, I'll usually do this guy. And then because I like to feel fancy, you know, if you ever see that written on a card that I've done, that's probably usually how I've done it. You know, I don't do the squared off top on the second one. I'll usually bring it around and have a little fun down here. And then I'll do the Y. Like I said, I'm very used to doing it like this with a point. I do it almost all the time. And then I bring it up and I do a little flourish at the end. If you're feeling like you want to give yourself a challenge, you can go ahead and try that guy. Also, something to keep in mind if you're starting the word like with an H, you can also start your H like this. I'm just kind of, again, giving ideas. If you've been, practicing, maybe you want to give yourself a little bit of it, something different to do. So you can do something like this. very briefly, these C curves should be sideways. The way that I like them visually is I prefer to do them like this, where there's the apex of the oval that's here is parallel to the lines on the page. This is always what the aim is. So that's kind of where how I do my C curves. Some people will do them like this. I prefer having more space. That's how I liked doing them. So that's my 2 cents. I'm trying to think. So we got the double PEL, 2 Fs. Let's see. A double D. And let's say a caddies. Yeah, caddy is yeah, CADDY. So we're gonna do CADDY. And I'll do my little um so for this one, I know that there is a I see this sorry. I see this one online sometimes where people will use this for the D. I don't love it. Um because this looks like an O and then an L. Um if this isn't spaced properly, and if you're learning this, that tends to happen. There tends to be space here. So it doesn't always read like the letter D. It really looks like an O and an L next to each other. If you're not careful and don't give yourself enough space. So I don't love using this one. It's not my favorite. Um, so just to keep that in mind, you have to be very, very sure to use that one. But something I do sometimes, if it's at the end of a word, you can do something like that. This is a little more, I'd say, advanced because you have to go up, you have to do your oval. Then I will bring it up and then over. And then I add the shade back down here to make it look like the D. We're going into an area of maybe more complicated than beginner level. But if you want to do, A, D, we do the normal one that I showed you guys. And then you do this again, and then you go up. It can be interesting. It can be an interesting option. Usually at the end of a word. But I do want to add a little weight down here just so it doesn't look like an O and then the flourish goes all over the place. You do kind of want to make it look like a D actually. It should actually be a little higher. A little less over right away. It should have been a little higher like that. And then pull it over. So this is a bit, again, it's a bit of a riskier move if you're not really confident with being able to do that. So keep that in mind, but there are options that you can do. Let's see, do another one like this. If you are really in love with trying to do that ascender loop, my tip or trick would be you absolutely have to make 100% sure that you're hitting this here cleanly and well, so it doesn't just like you're trying to write, the like a like the word old or something. Because my fear is that if you leave too much space here, because if you don't hit it by accident, it's gonna look like an O and an L. So just make sure if you're doing it like this that you commit to it and it looks the way that you want it to look. so it's still legible. My thing is always like legibility is make sure you want to see it, make sure your people can read it, because being a calligrapher equals people want to be able to read your stuff. And then I also wanted to talk about the letter T. When you have two T's together, I love to just do them all. Just instead of doing one and then doing another one, I do it all at once, or for more fun, which I like doing. I like to cross it with a little wave, just a little one, just tiny. I feel like it gives a bit of motion. I feel like it's fun. I feel like it gives a little something something just to feel like it's moving towards the rest of the word. Um, I wouldn't play around with the heights of them too much if I were you. It wouldn't be my recommendation. Um, I would keep the height. I would really only play with the crossbar, uh, this line right here, and do it maybe all at once, straight, or give it a little wave, a little hello. Uh, okay, yeah, I think we're good with that. I'm a two. Oh yeah, let's see, two B's together, same kind of like with the P, right? Because we already know that there are a couple of variations of the letter B, you can just mush them together and do, one like this, and then another one like this, right? You can do similarly like with the H, and you can start it like this, and then go down, and then like this guy. You can do one like this to another one like this. You can really just mush them together. I usually prefer to, because these are close but not too close with each other. This one and this one are very different, so it might be a little hard to read legibly, but I would kind of stick with these two. Or if you really like the old school version of it, if it's at the end of a word, maybe you add a little guy like that. Or maybe if you're feeling fun, you can do a flourish at the front, make that look interesting. Just so you see the options of what is possible, what you can do. I'm just trying to think. Oh yeah, and the last one I'll talk about is the two G's together, because I didn't give. There's only really one option on the worksheets I gave, but what I would suggest is you still need to make the ovals the same. Is that the second one, instead of doing another squared off top, you can kind of do the pointed one. And I find that this makes it it looks interesting. It looks kind of fun. Um, I'm trying to think of a word that has a double G. Uh, I guess I'll just huggy. I guess it's the only thing I can think of right now that has two G's in the middle. It makes it look just a little interesting, gives a little something down here in the descender portion. Kind of fun, versus having them be exact. Gives a little motion, a little movement. So I would try maybe something like this. So yeah, we went over, let's see, double L, double E, double F, double P, double D, T, B, and G. I think those are the ones that are the most common. I'll put this with this guy so you can see them again. And with this one. So you have lots of options, right? I think the most challenging is going to be the E. Trying to put myself in the mind of me when I was first learning. And I think the double E was really hard, just because there's not a ton you can do to on purpose make them look different without changing it to look like a different letter completely. But the rest of them, you have lots of options that you can play around with a little bit, right? So from there, what I want to do is I want to move on to numbers. So this will be important, especially for if you ever do any envelope addressing. There's always going to be like the number of maybe the apartment, or at least that's the case in North America. You'll have like the apartment number, or the number and then the street name. And then in Canada, it's the postal code. So there's going to be 3 numbers in that. In America, it's a zip code, and it's going to be 5. So you do need to know them, at least for that, if you're going to do any type of envelope addressing at all. And I don't go crazy with the numbers. I try not to go too complicated, because the numbers tend to be the most on an envelope. The numbers, to be honest, are kind of the most important, because if you can do the postal code or zip code clearly with the number of the house or the apartment or the duplex or whatever it is, generally speaking, the envelope will be able to be delivered, even if some of the other stuff isn't super clear. So I try not to go too fancy with the numbers, because I find it generally speaking tends to be the more important stuff. So for the number 1, the one I gave you on the worksheets was a fairly simple one, where we're going from the baseline, the waistline, and the ascender line are here. I'm starting from like mid X height, I guess, going up, and then I'm starting from here, and I'm starting at a point and I'm bringing it down, and then I'm pressing. And that's my number 1. So I'm looking this, I'm trying to make it like a very skinny triangle. A very skinny triangle. So I'm coming up. It's like a really long entry stroke. And then I'm starting at a point, and as I'm moving down, then I'm pressing, and I'm pressing as like pretty hard to make the tines open as much as possible. So we are like a little triangle. If you want to add a little something, you can add a little foot. Okay, this is not in the workbook, but you can do this. I've done this before, but it just really depends. And then you can add a foot underneath. You can do one of these. I kind of let it float. I don't have them touch, but you could do this and make that the number 1. So this is basically, if you were to continue this, it's kind of like a figure 8 underneath. That's kind of what I'm looking at. And like the C curve that I had mentioned before for like a very light type of flourishing, I'm trying to make like the apex of this curve be parallel to the rest of the lines on here. I'm trying to make like these guys be parallel to the rest of the horizontal lines on my page. So for the number 2, so actually also as well, the numbers, generally speaking, for me, I do them in one shot. but you don't have to. If you find a spot where you want to pause, you can as well. Generally speaking, I do it in one shot. So the number 2, we're going to be starting from like a third of the way down in between the ascender height up here. We're pulling down, so that a light shade going back up to the ascender line, and we're pulling down. So you could lift here. You could lift. You don't have to do it in one shot, but you could lift. I usually do it in one shot, but that's just me. So light shade coming back and curving over. So it kind of is like the motion here of a large overturn, but you're kicking it left. So up, over, left. You can lift if you want, or you can do it in all in one shot, depending on how you're feeling. How confident are you today? So you're coming around and then going down, and I drop below the baseline, and then I just come up and I curve it. I don't know if I had just put a dot. You can do a dot or you can just curve it. So it's going to mimic kind of the foot underneath the one down here. So let me kind of like that. So if you're doing a postal code, you're probably not gonna be working this big, or a zip code if you're in the States. You'll probably actually work within like a smaller area. So you just have to think about this, but be tinier. So you can do the 1 like that. You can do the 2. You could do it like that. Also, it's very important for this line here to be thin and to be at a pretty steep angle, because what you don't want to do is accidentally make it look like a 7. Okay, so make sure that that's not happening, because that could look like a 7 to someone. So, which is why it's very thin, and then that's where we're pushing to make it look like a triangle, so we're not accidentally looking like a 7. This is what you don't want to do. So for the number 3, I'm starting up here at the ascender line up here, going over or going down and pressing. I'm not going all the way to here. I'm going about halfway, and then I'm doing a half circle up and over. So normally if we're thinking of an oval, normally we do this. I am pushing on this side of the oval. If we think of this space here as an oval, and normally when we would go on the left. This one I'm going on the right, and when I'm going down, I'm pressing, so this line is thicker. So thicker, and then I'm coming back up onto the inside of it. I think that makes this look fun. You can also add a little dot if you feel like you want to look a little more fun inside. But yeah, it just up, down, 3, and back inside. Very similar to the 5, which we will be getting in 2 numbers. So for the 4, we're starting up at the ascender line. We're pressing lightly and going down below the waistline. We're coming back on here. We're doing an oval, doing a little oval, a little left portion of a figure 8. And then we're going to go up and down. Basically kind of like the wave when we're doing a double T. This is the wave I'm looking for here. I want a little motion. And then basically the right side of this 4 is like we're doing a number 1. It's the same stroke. So it's a bit weird. The numbers are also a bit weird too, because sometimes there are directions and shapes we've not done before. So let's do that again. Press lightly down and over, and then press. You can also start, if you're not sure, you're not feeling confident that you're going to have enough space, you can also start over here on the right and then go left. I prefer doing it this way of here, and then I can gauge it a little bit easier. That's how I like doing it, but to each their own, whatever makes it easier for you. Now for the number 5, we're basically doing the same, except this is going on this side, but it's the 3 and the 5 are more or less the same. So, but we're starting with this portion first. So we're going left, more extreme than the 55, actually. I should mention that. The 55 is here. I'm kind of kicking it out more. But then the weight of the oval portion here, this is on the 55, but this is a bit more steep. Okay, so as you can see, this and this are the same. They are the same shape. But the one difference I'll do is I actually will flip the page like this, and I will pull it this way. I find this more interesting because if you're going like this, you don't have any weight on the top, which makes it harder to read that it's a 5. But if I just turn it and then I pull towards me, then all of a sudden there's a little weight on there and we're good. So we have our 5. I find the 6 I find is a little bit difficult because we're gonna have to go over a line, and I will show you what I mean. So the 6, we're starting from here, the ascender, going down and up and past the waistline. Okay, then what I do is I lift. Okay, I'm gonna stop right here. So it's kind of like the left side of an oval again, right? We're coming up and we're over, and then I stop right around there. Then what I'll do is I will go back in and I'll come up and over, and that's what I mean. It's a bit harder. Up. And I go back over itself. So ascender, push down to the baseline, and then up. And then I stop around here. Then I go back over to maybe like where the waistline is. And then I push up, and then I press, and I bring it back onto itself. This part is hard. As you can see here, like I missed it. I went over too far left because it's important to put the weight on both sides so it's legible as a number. And then after, I'll just kind of go up, over, and then I'll just give a little circle, and I'll fill in that dot up here. For the 7, not too bad. It's the same kind of motion as the 3 on the top. So we're doing here, over, and then like the number 1. Start from the top, thin, and then press, and then you're going to get that little triangle up on the top here, and then that's going to read as a 7. If you want to be extra, you can add that little, I don't know what I know people know, I know there's a name for this thing. I just can't remember what this is called, but you can just add a little guy. Just a little guy, little wave, little cross right here. You can go ahead and do that, and that's totally fine. The number 8 is also a bit of a more difficult one, so just bear in mind that I probably actually won't even get it right on the first shot, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to start over here. I'm not starting right on the top. I'm starting over a bit on the right here, where the ascender line is. I'm going up, pressing, and then up here, and then I stop. Then I lift, and then I pull this on the inside of the line. So up, down, up again, and then on the inside. Actually, this should be a little wider, so there's more space. There we go. That's kind of what we're looking for. It's kind of like an infinity symbol, but upright, I guess. But the 8 is hard. It's hard to figure out where to press. I try to put more weight near the bottom. If you really want to exaggerate it, you can really push it out. But I still like leaving it a bit more delicate looking, and not to bulge out too much like here. Um, I actually like the shape here more than these two, but I messed up with this line here. But the like I said, the eight is it's a bit more of a challenging one. So yeah, we're starting right here, up, and then down here. The line actually that's the 55 is not the dark one. This is also one of the exceptional things that we learn, is that the 55 is actually more along the hairline here versus this guy. This one's almost more straight up and down, if that's something to keep in mind as well. So the number 9 is not actually up here. It's going to be actually here. And I like to start it right at the waistline. And I come up to about halfway between on the ascender to the waistline. I come up maybe half-ish way. Half-ish way. I don't know if that's a measurement, but half-ish way. Up and then down. Then I'm going right down to the baseline and coming back up again. And like this 6, we're going to have to go over the line again. That was very messy, Erin. Hello. There we go. Down and then up again. So it's kind of like the 6. I usually find my 6s are better than my 9s. Because they should be mirror images of each other. But I do find that it's easier for me to do a 6 than it is a 9 for whatever strange reason that is. But yeah, I usually start here, up, down, and then up again, then down. Up, down, up. I guess there's just not a lot of 9s in postal codes in Canada, because I'm trying to think. I actually don't know if I write it often. But I think you guys get the point. You get the idea. You get the idea. All right, and then the last number is going to be the 0. So the 0 is, we're starting like we would like a regular O, which is up here. And we're pressing down and then up and then inside. But the way that you differentiate this from an O to a 0 is you're going to go back. You're going to add some shading down here. That's usually the vibe of how you kind of make this look like a number and not a letter, is that you have to add the shading on the right side. If you want to do it in 2 strokes, you can. You just have to make sure that you're meeting it. But it's really hard to do it this way because you're meeting at a hairline. Although I guess, let me experiment for 1 second. I guess you could go bring it up higher. And then you would be hairline to thick, I guess. I still think this is going to guarantee. There's a higher likelihood if you're doing it this way that you're going to get it more consistent, I think, than if doing it like this. Because this is all in one motion, so it's kind of like you're doing the inside of a spiral. It feels like this is going to be a little bit easier to do consistently than doing it going up and then coming back around. I think you're going to have a better time with this one. I think so. So let me do them all in a row. Nice little row. So you can see me do them all in one shot. I will zoom out a little so I don't miss anything. So we're going up, pressing. I'm going to make sure that that is a nice little triangle over here. And the 2. Oh yeah, and you can, like I had mentioned, you can do, a little something like that on the bottom, a little foot. Then you can do your 3. And we're doing our 4. And we're doing our 5. then R6, then R7, then R8, then R9, and then R0. So we have them all in a lovely row. And I think, actually, no, we're not done. We have still to do punctuation. Punctuation is super fast, though. If there's any questions, by the way, I know I'm going maybe a little quick because there's just a lot to get done. Like all in one shot, because we're doing, we did the double letters, we're doing the numbers, doing punctuation. It's a lot to remember. So honestly, I keep it super simple. Okay. So we got punctuation, we got a period. Ironic, I'm doing this with like almost a red ink. Haha, funny. Okay, perfect. So we have our baseline. And for me, a period right here is going to be like if you're doing the letter I want the period here and this circle for the I to be the same size. Or if you're doing, you can also do a comma the same way. We're doing like an actual circle, and then you're going to just write a very small hairline. If you want, what you could do, because this is another way you can dot the I, is you just do like almost looks more like a teardrop. You can also do your commas that way. It just depends. I find this one looks more precise. But if you're doing your comma like this, then when you're doing your eyes, you should also make that a circle. And if you're doing like an S, for example, you better be really sure that this is that circle. You're being very precise everywhere where you're writing. But if you want to do a comma like this, you can just do that little press and flick as you're lifting off your page to make that little mark. It kind of looks like an upside down teardrop, I find, or a raindrop or something. So we got that. An exclamation point is a press and release with a circle. If you want, you can go back in and make it rounder if you feel like that, if that's the vibe you're going for. But it's very much a press release with a circle on the bottom with a question mark. It's kind of like the way that the number 2 is built, right? You'll see some similarities. So we're pressing, going up over, pressing, but instead of like a 2, you're going all the way over. I'm bringing this down. And then I'm doing a circle. So, sorry, this was too straight down. This should be at the 55. So it's press, release, press, I release a little, and then I press again. So there's some weight differentiation all the way through, and then with a circle on the bottom. So I got period. The comma and a quotation should look the same. So if you can do a comma, you can do a quotation, like the little bunny ears. Like I said, just be consistent with how you want to do it. If you want to do a comma like this, make sure your quotations are like this and you're dotting your I's the same way, just so you have a visual continuity throughout whatever text you're writing. What other punctuations are there? Yeah, it would be the same thing for a comma, same thing for quotes, for oh my god, I just lost the name of what it is called now. It's like a comma but in the air. Like if you're doing the word that's. Oops. That guy. This guy should, wherever you're putting this guy, you should put it this way too. My brain just went on vacation and I can't remember what this is called. You're welcome for me not remembering English. Cool. And I think, is that all the punctuation? I mean, I guess it would be a semicolon if you want to do that, but that's, we're doing a circle and then a circle with a line, or like this if you want to be rebellious. I don't love this though because it's kind of heavy. Or a circle and then the tick. I prefer this being more precise. I think, is that all the punctuation that we have? Oh, if you're writing in French, or I guess in Spanish too, there are accents over words. So if you are doing any marks over a word, because I don't know all of them, because English and French doesn't have, French obviously has accents, English does not. Trying to think. Spanish I think does as well. German definitely does. I don't know all the names of them. However, if you're doing like in French, there's the E and then you have an accent aigu. If I'm doing an accent aigu is the one that goes this direction. Yes, it's the one that goes this direction. I like to do it like this, where the weight is at this part and bringing it down to light, or I have no weight on it at all. That's it. Then you have your accent grave, which is the other direction. So same thing. I'm going to do the flick and pull, or it's going to be straight. Then there's the accent circonflexe, which is the chapeau, the little hat thing, if anyone's ever seen that. So either it's no weight on it at all, or the only side that has the weight is the same side of the E that has the weight on it. It would be like that. I'm trying to make it consistent and looking even, I guess. I'm trying to think if there's another accents. I guess if you do the word Noel or Noël. So Christmas in French. It's the two dots above the O, and you're just going to do two circles above. And that's basically it. I don't think there's any more punctuation. I believe that's it. I think that's it. Before I get off stream, just trying to think if there's anything else, and I don't believe so. I think I got them all. I'm going to say I did. And then if I forget anything, I'm just, for the next stream, it'll be fine. I'll just do it then. Okay. I think we're good for today. Wasn't too many questions. It was all good. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to, or I guess like I'm going to be uploading this to YouTube. So if you want to do any replays or anything like that, it's going to be there. Or if you're watching me on YouTube, hello. So that's cool. I know this one maybe wasn't the most the most interesting because like a lot of obviously the letters we've done already, the numbers are less frequently used. Um, unless you're, I guess, like again, like I said, unless you do a lot of envelope addressing. And then the punctuation, of course, will be used, but it's not used as much as the letters. So I also understand why there's not a lot of questions or anything like that too. It's, fairly standard stuff. Um, but that listen, I'm very excited because we finished all the minuscules, we did all the basic stuff, and then next week on Feb 19th, which is gonna be Monday. Monday is going to be starting magic skills. It's a big leap. So that's gonna be super fun. So we're gonna be doing beginning the magic skills with like I think if you've seen me writing words and you've seen me do that, uh, and you can see how things are connected more or less. I'll touch a little on that next time, just to be able to show you more specifically versus just like me writing. I do find it kind of self-explanatory, so I won't belabor the point too long. But I do want to get into magic skills, and that'll be lesson 7. 7 out of 11. That's pretty exciting. Uh, and we have, yeah, after that one, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 left. This was number 6. I think we're making good progress, guys. I think we're doing good. Um, yeah, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm just looking at I'm very happy with the pace that we're doing. It makes me happy. So like normal, if there's any questions or anything like that, get at me on the Discord. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be in the description. If you are watching me on Twitch, feel free to go to my Instagram, and the link is in the bio of my Instagram, which you can see here, right there. You can just go there and check it out, and you can write me there directly if you have any questions. And I think that is all for this evening. I want to, thanks for hanging out with me on a Thursday night. Appreciate your time. And if you're watching this at another time, thanks for, donating your time to me. I really appreciate it. It's not an easy thing to commit your time to learning something new. So appreciate you guys. And with all that, I'll bid you a good evening. See ya.